In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your valve cover on your Toyota Camry. It's located under the hood. To remove your negative battery terminal, you're going to use a 10mm socket or wrench and unbolt it. Loosen up that nut, remove the cable, set it aside. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to take out these two nuts. One here and one there. We're going to pick up our plastic cover. I'm going to pull it off. Rubber grommets. You're going to remove off the two rubber grommets in the back and set this aside. Yours might have a locking tab. Our connectors are missing their locking tab, so you're just going to push in on that and then pull off the connector. Set it aside. And now you're going to use a 10mm socket to take out this bolt. After you remove the bolt, you're going to pull up on the ignition coil and take it out. Do the same for these three. Next, we're going to remove these two hoses, one here and one here. To do that, you're going to use a pair of pliers, slide it back, the hose clamp, twist, and you should be able to pull this off. I'm going to get a little pry bar. There we go, remove that. Do the same for this one. And set that aside, out of the way. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to take out this bolt and this bolt first. And we're going to set those aside. I'm going to remove this bolt as well, just so I have a little bit more slack with this wiring harness. Now let's push our harness away and we can start taking out the bolts around the perimeter. I'm going to use a 10mm socket. Continue taking out the bolts. And nuts. And now we're going to make our way to the back. I'm just going to push that out of the way. Now we're going to take out these bolts in the middle. And just make a mental note that the long bolts go in the middle. Now we're going to move everything out of the way so we can lift up on our valve cover and remove it. Maybe a little stuck. So we have to get it past these two studs in the front. So I'm going to pick it up in the front first. Make sure the harnesses are out of the way. then we can remove it the rest of the way. So we're going to use an inverted Torx bit, size E5, and we're going to put that on these studs and remove them. Do the same for the rest. This should be 3 more. We're going to transfer those over to the new valve cover. We're also going to transfer over this outlet using a 22 millimeter socket. I'm going to remove it. And that will also be transferred over to the new valve cover. To install this, I'm going to put a little thread sealant on the threads and screw it in. Just tighten it down. Now we're going to put our studs in. Make sure you have the shorter amount of threads going in. You're going to tighten these till they bottom out. And then we'll snug them up at the end. There's one there. One here. One there. And one here. We're going to snug these up. Go about wrist tight. This is aluminum, so you don't want to over tighten. Make sure they're all wrist tight. We're going to install our gasket now. Just make sure you have it going the right way. There's more of a shorter edge here than on this side. Everything should line up. And then just follow it along. Make sure the middle is also in and seated properly. And now we're going to go put some silicone on our seams on the engine head, and then we'll put our valve cover on. Make sure you put some rags in here to catch any debris before cleaning. You just want to tuck it in. That way, whatever you clean off here, it doesn't go in the engine, it goes on the outside. And just do that all the way around. Now we're going to clean up our engine, part of where the gasket sits. I'm using some brake pads cleaner just to clean up anything that's rough on the surface, any oils. So you just want to go around and make sure it's nice and clean. I would not use like a razor blade unless you're good with a razor blade, because you may gouge the surface. Aluminum's pretty soft. If you're going to use anything like that, you can use a plastic razor blade, like for this area where the silicone is. There's going to be 2 spots, one here and one here, where you're going to put a little silicone down, and that's where the seam is between the 2 engine pieces. So make sure everything's oil-free and clean. So now you can take this off. Make sure you take it off and kind of roll it up so you take the debris with you after you've cleaned it. And now we're going to put our silicone on the seams right here and right here. I'm going to put a bead of silicone gasket maker here and a small amount there. You don't need a lot. Okay, we're going to let that sit for a second. And let it get a little hard before we put our valve cover on. Now we're going to put our valve cover on. Before doing so, let's make sure our harness is out of the way. As much as possible, and anything else that may get in the way is out of the way. We're going to put our valve cover on. I have bungee cords holding our harnesses back, and we're just going to gently slide it into place. As you're lowering it down, make sure that you can feel that gasket in place and it's still where it belongs. Now we're going to start our bolts by hand, and I'm just going to put them all in. I'm not going to tighten anything down yet. You want to get all your bolts started before you start tightening anything down, and make sure everything's lined up where it goes. And now we're going to do the two in the middle. So we're going to start with the inside bolts first and just tighten them down. Going back and forth until they're a little snug. We are going to be torquing these to 8 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to get them a little snug first. And then I'm going to go here. And then go to the one directly across. And you're really only making it snug to like with your wrist. And then you're going to go in the middle. And then go directly across. And then you're going to go to your corners. And you really just want to make sure that that valve cover is going down in a straight way, not warped. And you're not squishing anything out. Now we're going to go to our other two corners. And the other one. So now we're going to torque this to 96 inch-pounds or 8 foot-pounds. So make sure your center ones are torqued first. And go back to where you were. So now we're going to go to our nut. Once that's torqued, you're going to go directly across. Now we're going to go for these middle ones. Now I'm going to go for the corner. Go to the other corner. Now I'm going to go to this corner. And the last corner over here. It's a good idea to just double check all your bolts and make sure you got them all. And the last two. Again, looks like we're in good shape, so now let's start putting our harnesses back and everything else. Let's put our bracket back and our harnesses. To put our hose back on in the back. Use your pliers. Put this back. Let's put our bolt back for our bracket that's on the alternator. And we're going to snug all of those up. For the ones on top of the valve cover, you only want to go about wrist tight. It's only just to hold it there. You don't want to strip that out. And now we're going to put our hose on over here from the air box. Use some pliers. Bring that hose clamp back where it was. Okay, and now we're going to put our ignition coils back. It's a good idea to put some dielectric grease just on the tip. Just put a little bit on the end there, not a ton, and do that for all four. Now we're going to install our ignition coils. You're going to push down, seat it in there, and get your bolts started. Now we're going to snug those up. Now we can plug in our ignition coils. They're obvious as to where they go, the shortest one being on the end here. Push it on. Yours should click. Ours, the clicking mechanism is missing. Now we're going to install our cover. Make sure you line up your rubber grommets with these studs in the back. Push it down, make sure these studs come out. And now we can hand tighten these nuts. And about wrist tight would work for this. Now you can connect your negative battery terminal. I'm going to place it on the post, push it down all the way, and tighten it. You want to go about wrist tight. Check your cable, make sure it doesn't move and has a good connection.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.